Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and today I'd like to ask you this question. How was your sugar-free year? Really? And I don't mean that you should have had a sugar-free year. I actually want to know, how was your year? How did you integrate less or no sugar into your year? And how do you feel with less sugar? Whatever your answer, I'd like to give you a few tips about how to make your next year even sweeter. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at aftersugarclub.com, why not take the cravings quiz? I created this cravings quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at aftersugarclub.com. And also, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. So here's the thing. I'm recording this at the end of 2025, and whether or not you're completely sugar-free like me, or you still eat a little bit of sugar or some flour, it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, I care about how you feel way more than I care about what you eat. So my question is, how was your sugar-free year, sugar-free in parentheses, because what I'm really interested in is not the social media highlight reel of your life, not the I was perfect version either. What I'm interested in is the real, human, messy version of how your year was. Because if part of you is thinking, I wasn't perfect, or even I wasn't as perfect as Netta, or I wasn't disciplined enough, or I blew it, I slipped, I cheated, well, this episode is for you. Because I think most of us suffer from perfectionism, and we believe that if we're not 100% perfectly sugar-free, we failed. And I think that type of perfectionism actually comes from the diet culture, because it teaches us that you're either on track or you've failed. You've either been good or bad. And if you slip, well, you have to start over on Monday. Start back at square one or on day one. And quite frankly, that mindset doesn't create freedom. It creates shame. And in my experience, shame is one of the biggest fuel sources for cravings. Because it's not just sugar that causes cravings. It can also be the need for perfection. And Brené Brown talks about this beautifully in The Gifts of Imperfection. She explains that when we believe that we have to be perfect to be worthy, that's when shame takes over. And I agree, because I've experienced that myself. And maybe you have too. But in fact, what I've found in my sugar-free life is that it's the imperfections that count. Because, and I say this as a teacher, our imperfections are where we learn. As the Canadian singer Leonard Cohen sings in his lyrics from the song Anthem, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And embracing our imperfections, embracing my imperfections, is really what made me able to live my sugar-free life joyfully. Because it's not about being perfect, it's about embracing real life, with all its ups and downs, with all its imperfections. Once we accept that we're not perfect, then that kind of emotional need for sugar, for me at least, goes way down. And I'll be honest with you, my year wasn't perfect, mainly because I don't want it to be perfect. There were ups and downs, there were lows, there were highs, there were all kinds of emotions all across the scale. Sometimes moments when I thought, I should know better by now. But whereas several years ago I would have been brutal with myself, I would have beaten myself up for not being perfect. I would have said, see, you failed. I told you so. You're not worthy. Now, after over 10 years of being sugar-free and 10 years of embracing my imperfections, I choose curiosity and gentleness, self-compassion and humour instead of self-punishment. And that is what can make your year so much sweeter. I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews, and when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. So in this episode, I'm asking you, how was your sugar-free year? And I put sugar-free in parentheses because whether or not you eat sugar is far less important, in my humble opinion, than how you feel in relation to sugar and comfort foods. And this is actually what life after sugar is all about. It's not life without sugar, although you can totally choose to be without sugar. It's more about getting to a place where you don't need or miss sugar anymore. And by sugar, I mean all types of comfort foods. It's not that you don't need comfort anymore. We all do. That's a totally normal, natural human need. But what is liberating about life after sugar is that you can learn to find other sources of comfort that don't give you sluggishness, cravings, joint pain, and weight gain. And part of the way to get there, in my experience, and in the experience of the people I help inside of my program, is to let go of this like all or nothing thinking, which is basically perfectionism. That may mean for you, I've got to be 100% sugar-free or I've totally failed. And I love the author Janine Roth in her books such as Feeding the Hungry Heart and Breaking Free from Emotional Eating, as well as When Food is Love, when she says, for example, the way you eat is inseparable from your beliefs about life. So if you believe that you have to be perfect to be okay, then every small slip feels huge. But if you give yourself some compassion and accept that no, you're never going to be 100% perfect, and why would you want to be, then you can be far less hard on yourself when you're not perfect, even with sugar. So that's what I mean when I say that the amount of sugar you eat, whether it's 0 or more, has really nothing to do with how perfect you are. Because I eat 0 sugar and I'm in no way perfect, believe me. My advice to you is not to give away your personal power to sugar. Sugar doesn't determine how good or bad your life is or how good or bad you are. And this holds for how your last year went and how future years will go. And I can tell you that I've had years where I thought I was doing it right for all aspects of my life, especially how I eat. And then years where I felt I'd messed everything up. And honestly, the more rigid I was, the worse it felt. Which is why I really agree with Janine Roth when she says eating is never only about food. I think she's right. For me personally, eating sugar was about needing comfort and dealing with pressure and stress. And only when I found other ways of doing that did I really begin to feel free from sugar. And I love this reminder from Janine Roth that you don't need to be perfect just to be worthy of love. If your year wasn't perfect, that doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're human. And that's why in my 12-week program, The Freedom from Cravings Formula, we don't aim for perfection. We aim for awareness, support, accountability, and learning how to be gentle with yourself, whatever you do or eat. Because I created this program specifically to help you go deeper into your relationship with food, especially sugar, and also into your relationship with yourself, so that you can finally get rid of cravings, slim down, and feel more in control around food. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed to help you get control over cravings so that you can finally live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly and feel confident in your food choices so that you can ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, and so that you never feel like you're on some kind of restrictive diet. If you're at the stage of your life when you're finally ready to look after yourself, let's chat. You can talk directly to me on a free clarity call at any time by going to aftersugarclub.com and clicking on Program at the top. You'll also find the link with the show notes together with this episode. So go to aftersugarclub.com. Speak to you soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.